That was helpful. Good evening, everybody. Deputy Mayor, Councillor Dallas Tate, Rotarians and fellow guests here tonight. Wow, 120 people. Public speaking for me is a scary thing, but to stand up here tonight and share my story with you is even a little bit scarier. I know when Alan came into my office and asked me to be part of tonight, I was very, very excited because I absolutely jump at any opportunity to be able to shed light on issues that often people don't speak about. So some of you in the room tonight may be familiar with this quote I've stolen that's behind me here by one of the greatest people that we've seen in history, Charles Darwin. It is not the strongest of the species that survives, it is the one that is most adaptable to change. So as I said before, I feel truly humbled to have the opportunity to share my experience of having to adapt to the change that's come about in my life. So at the age of 18, I learned that I was living with bipolar disorder. It was after weeks of minimal sleep, abusing alcohol, reckless behaviour, a prolonged period of deep sadness, and random outbursts of crying that I finally had the courage to share that I wasn't okay and that I needed help. I have this really vivid memory of when I went to my dad and we were sitting in the lounge room one afternoon and saying to Dad that I couldn't feel this way anymore. At that point in time, I felt broken and as if there was a huge sense of instability within me. It almost felt as if there was this ticking time bomb within my being that I didn't know when was going to explode. I felt that I didn't have control over what I was going to do next, and the intensity of the emotions that I felt within my body was completely unbearable. But something that was even more unbearable than that was when I was looking at my dad and I was sharing this with him, knowing that he had a mum, that he grew up his entire life who was living with bipolar disorder. And so I shared this with him, and then the next day we drove to Wodonga and I saw a psychiatrist who confirmed that I was living with bipolar disorder. Essentially, they admitted me to hospital within a couple of hours, and they wanted to monitor my medication and said that, hey, we hope you're out by Christmas. At this point, it was 5 weeks until Christmas. What a Christmas present. So for those that aren't familiar with what bipolar disorder is a brain disorder that causes unusual shifts in mood, energy, activity levels, and the ability to carry out daily tasks. But in this appointment that I had with the psychiatrist, he went through all the symptoms of manic episodes and then all the symptoms of the depressive episodes, and he explained to me that on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, I'm going to alternate between feeling this way. And he encouraged me to recognise when this was happening. But what I wanted to share with you is what it feels like to be manic. So to be manic, it feels like I'm completely invincible. It feels like I'm 2 feet taller than what I really am. It feels like I can take on the world. There's flights of ideas. I speak rapidly. I've got racing thoughts. And I may even be involved in pleasurable and reckless activity that has detrimental consequences. But then there are days that I feel depressed, and getting out of bed or trying to put your clothes on or the simple things as having a shower is extremely difficult. I guess it's when you're depressed, it feels like those manic wings that I had on me have now been ripped off, and you lose that sense of identity and you lose the belief you had in yourself. So within hours of arriving in Wodonga, when I was diagnosed, I felt like my entire world had changed. I was now being prescribed this tablet called lithium, and then an antidepressant, and then an antipsychotic, and apparently I had to take sleeping tablets. He said to me that every month now I had to have a blood test because there's a high chance that I may experience blood toxicity, and all these different things were being thrown at me. So you can imagine that at this point I'm 18 years old, I'm in Wodonga in this foreign place and have just been told I've got bipolar disorder. So all these different questions were running through my head. You know, will I be able to work again? Can I go to uni next year? He said, I can't take this medication if I want to have a family, so does that mean I can't be a mum? I wondered what my life would be like now, and I had so many different ambitions, and I was so determined to achieve all these different goals, and I was wondering whether this diagnosis was going to restrict me from achieving this. So this was a period where I struggled with the burden that came with this label that was then placed against my name, and the definition that I was being told characterised who I was. See, our language has a powerful effect, a powerful way of affecting our thinking in terms of how we view others and how we view the world. And so this week I was really intrigued to see if I was to thesaurus mental illness or mentally ill or disabled, what words would come up. So that's exactly what I did. And so when I thesaurus mentally ill, the things that came up were cracked, crazed, crazy, cocoa, nuts, off one's rocker, psycho, psychotic, deranged. And then when I thesaurused the mental illness, the things that came up were insanity, disturbed, unsoundness of mind, paranoia, sick mind, trouble mind. And when I thesaurused disabled, things that came up were things such as paralysed, wounded, incapable, powerless. Now, these words are confronting and do not reflect the language we should be allowing to affect our thinking in the way we see mental illness and disability. Because the Greeks and Romans believed that to utter a curse verbally was so powerful because to say the thing out loud brought it into existence. Now, if in that hospital room and if in the room today we believe that those words that I thesaurus define the capabilities of those living with a mental illness or disability, we would be doing ourselves a great injustice. Because the only real disability that I've ever had to deal with was the world keeping me restricted by the prognosis of that definition. I believe that everyone has something rare, special and powerful to contribute to society, and I think that as social creatures, we desire to want to connect and contribute. The human ability to be able to adapt is one of our greatest assets. And so when I sat in that patient room, when I'm waiting for them to organise my bed for the hospital, I was fiercely Googling bipolar disorder, and all these statistics were coming up and all these side effects were coming up, and I was reading about how my life would be. And I just found it so hard to be able to find at that point any positive stories of those who were living with bipolar disorder. But the great thing about that experience is when I was in hospital, I was able to be part of this whole new community. A community where people understood me, and we were able to have these conversations about the experiences that they'd had in their highs and in their lows, and they were able to share their experiences of how when they were on lithium or when they were on this antidepressant, how it made them feel. In those moments when I was given my diagnosis, I saw such unconditional love, care and support from my family that I'm completely, eternally grateful for. But in that bed, in that first night in that hospital, I remember the mental health nurse, Jerry, coming through to my bed, and I remember just curling up in a little ball on the bed, and he's like, Sam, it's going to be okay. And I'm nodding my head with uncontrollable tears coming through. And I just remember the intense level of sadness and loneliness and uncertainty that came with that label. But it was the belief, and still is, the belief and love from my family that has always allowed me to embrace this illness. And that's all we need. All we need is to know that we can grow because of the experience and not in spite of it. All anyone needs is one person to show them the epiphany of their own power. We can all hand someone the key to their own power. So through that experience, I learned that I have the power and belief within me, and I decided that I would not let my diagnosis dictate my life. I would choose the life I wanted to live. I would choose the impact I had on those around me. I would choose which of my dreams I wanted to pursue, and I would find a way to balance my medication if I wanted to be a mum. I would choose how I'd respond to the emotions I was feeling. I would accept that it's going to be a lifelong journey to manage this illness, but even when I'm not feeling okay, things will be okay, and I'll learn self-love. So if I was to redefine the words that we saw before, when I thesaurus those words in terms of the mentally ill or mental illness, I'd describe us as being creative. I'd describe us as being feeling invincible, that we're determined, we empathise, we're mentally skilled, we're able to adapt to change, we're visionary, we think outside the box, we challenge the norm, we have great strength, and most of all, as most of you would appreciate in the room today, is that we're resilient. So that's not to say that we don't have bad days. I'm the General Manager of Brunskill Park Estate, and I'm expected every day to come into the office and to be the visionary, be the strategist, but to also provide consistent sales. And when I have all these crazy big ideas, I'm also expected to be able to execute. And so there'll be days where getting out of bed or having to do 8 hours of meetings is absolutely unbearable. But we need to find the opportunities that are wrapped in adversity. The idea that opportunities and success are on the other side of adversity and that we will get on the other side of adversity unscathed or unmarked is just not real. See, it's not about overcoming adversity, but opening ourselves up to it and embracing it. It's not about beating it. Let's start dancing with it. And adversity is part of our life. We live through it and are changed and marked from it, whether that be physically or mentally. But we can look to see this as an opportunity for us to grow and embrace rather than beat or battle it. So why don't we start opening ourselves up to adversity? Let's see adversity as part of the human evolutionary process and see it as a useful and natural experience. Perhaps until we are tested, do we know what we are made of, or do we truly come to a realisation of who we are and what are we capable of achieving? So I'm so grateful to be here tonight because the Rotary Shine Awards are a true example and opportunity to recognise those who see the opportunity that presents when we are faced with adversity. I'm so grateful to have this wonderful night occur and honoured to be able to share my story in front of you all tonight. Congratulations to all of the nominees and everybody here that's here tonight for supporting this terrific initiative.